On the west bank of the river Jordan, there is a piece of land still known as Samaria. You may choose to pass through it as you go through Galilee to Judea. There is a village there called Sychar. And in that village is a well that was dug by our ancestor Jacob 4,000 years ago. It is still the only source of water in that area. It was at that well that I had my first encounter with Jesus of Nazareth. Since that day, nothing has or could possibly have been the same in my life. And it is because of that encounter that I am here with you tonight. I came to the well that day as I always do. But this day there was a Jewish man there. A well in Samaria, a Jewish man. That was a surprise. But what really gave me pause was that he asked me for a drink. I couldn't help but state the obvious. What, you, a Jew, ask me for a drink? You know, of course, that Jews and Samaritans despised one another. Samaritans, like Jews, are descendants of Abraham. But we are of Joseph's line, of Ephraim and Manasseh, his two sons. Jews are descendants of the other 10 tribes of Judah. The holy site for the Samaritans is the place where we believe Abraham brought his son Isaac for sacrifice. Mount Gerizim. But the Jews, they made their holy site on the place they believed Abraham brought his son Isaac to be sacrificed, in Jerusalem. And the hatred that Joseph's brothers had for Joseph carried on through the children for generations. And after King Solomon died, the 12 tribes of Israel were divided in two. The 2 tribes of Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh in the north, and the other 10 tribes of Judah in the south. Centuries later, we in the north were conquered by the Assyrians. Men and women were plucked from their families and they were sent to another place to live, never to see their families again. And people from the other 5 countries that Assyria had conquered came and they were sent to live among us. We had to intermarry. Women had no husbands and husbands had no wives. We had no choice. And we did not know who we could trust. We were divided into groups too small to organize a revolt, and that was intentional. As we intermarried, we tolerated one another's gods. And over the generations, the children grew up worshiping each of the gods of those 5 nations. So the Jews consider us racially impure and ritually unclean. They will have nothing to do with us. So a religious Jew would die before receiving water from the same cup as a Samaritan. Yet, not only a Jew, but a Jewish man who they barely speaks to their women is speaking to me, asking a drink from a woman, and more, he had to know that I was some kind of outcast by the time of day that I have come to the well. Coming in the heat of the day, instead of at the cool of sunrise or sunset, as do most women. It is their time to be social, but not for me. No, I was not welcome among them. I did not care for them either. His response? If you knew who it was who is speaking to you, you would ask me, and I would give you living water. Living water? Really? First, he had nothing to get water with. Why would I ask him such a silly question? And second, living water? That was a new, shall we say, term. Wells have been known for men and women to meet at and marry. Moses met his wife Zipporah at the well. Even Jacob, who gave us this well, he sent his servant in search of a wife, and he met her at the well. Perhaps this was some kind of marriage proposal, but I was no longer young. I was beyond the age of marriage of most gals. And I suspected that he was seeking something less than honorable. That perhaps we weren't talking about well water. But I was good at playing games. I had had 5 husbands, so I played along. What? Are you greater than our father, Jacob, who gave us this well? And I thought, and all the generations of children that followed. And he replied, everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water that I will give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water that I will give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. That was not the response I expected. He was not boastful. He was not playing games. Eternal life? This was not the conversation I thought I was having. This man was speaking on spiritual terms, not physical terms. Only God could offer eternal life. That he was speaking to me, a non-Jewish woman of low social status, about important spiritual matters. I thought perhaps he sees me as a person of significant value, not what I could do for him. It was strange. I was not used to being seen. And if I was seen only for what I could produce. Children, food, care of the household. When he said that the water he had to give would well up to eternal life, something deep in my soul took notice. I was always having to get what I needed from someone or somewhere else. And those someone else's were always humiliating. So a spring welling up inside. I would no longer have to rely on others. I would no longer have to endure humiliation. What a welcome relief that would be. I was thirsty for new life, a cleaner life, a life that I knew I was made for. But no matter how I tried, it just kept slipping elusively out of reach. I had given up hope. But now, here was someone who spoke to me. To me about something that was life-giving. I wanted what he had to offer. So I said, "Sir, give me some of this living water." And his next question was a breathtaking disappointment. call your husband. Just when I thought I mattered, that I maybe was someone, he wanted to talk to the one who counted. I hesitated. The truth is painful. I had no husband. He was talking to a woman, and not only that, a woman of low status. In fact, no status. But he had this amazing gift. Something I so desperately wanted, and it seemed to be within reach, but again it began slipping through my fingers. And he said, "You're right. You have had 5 husbands, and the one you're living with now is not your own." I was shocked. How could he know that? How could he throw that in my face? Not even the people from my village knew that much about me. It was as if he had slapped me across the face with the truth. There was a long, painful silence. I just wanted the ground to open up and to swallow me and be gone forever. But at the corner of my eye, I could see his body and his face. And I realized his tone even was kind. He wasn't looking at me accusingly, but tenderly, like he knew the truth had hurt. Any time that subject had come up, I tried to explain, because I had all kinds of reasons, good ones in fact, of why things had turned out the way they had. But then I thought, maybe this is not just about me. Maybe he was talking, maybe, about my people. That Samaritans had intermarried with 5 other nations and no longer worshiped the God of Israel alone. So I went to the heart of the matter and I said, "Sir, I see that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on that mountain, and you Jews say we should worship in the temple in Jerusalem." And he said, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will worship the Father, neither on this mountain or in Jerusalem. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know. For salvation is from the Jews. Yet the time is coming and has now come, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth." I remembered the prophets Jeremiah and Micah had foretold that a Messiah would come from the house of Judah one day, and the 12 tribes would be united. But he said the time has now come when true worshippers will worship in spirit and in truth. I had to know more. So I responded, "I know the Messiah is coming. And when he comes, he will proclaim all things to us." But his next words changed my life. I am. I am. Do you know those words? It was the name that God gave Moses at the burning bush. Except here, it was like a spring of water bursting through the parched ground. "I am is speaking to you," he said. God? The Messiah? I left my water jar and I ran back to the city. The one who will deliver us, save us, was talking to me. The time has now come, he had said, when the true worshippers will worship in spirit and in truth. And I must say, what I did next was a small miracle. I went to the very people who would not speak to me, who would not associate me, who thought me bad luck, thought me inferior. And I shared my encounter with this man and what he had said. And to my surprise, they listened to me. And they came to the well and they met this Jesus, and he stayed among us for 2 days. We were a changed people. I wonder how many of you are like me, whose past keeps you in bondage, who hide from others so that you are not seen. And yet when God's love comes in, it is really made plain for all to see, for others to wonder, could God do that for me too? Could God love me that way too? That the Messiah of God could come to me, a woman, a Samaritan, woman of low status, and bring an important message of reconciliation to my people. God so loved the world, he came to us. God's message not only changed us, but how he chose to bring it to us changed us. That we were so important to God made all those things that once divided us small, of little consequence. That I was so important to God. I could be used to bring his message to his people. Changed me. It changed how we treated one another. Perhaps the question burns inside you. Could he do that for me? Could God reconcile me to himself and all those I am separated from? When I told the people of my village that he knew all that had happened to me and to us, and his words, I am, I simply asked the question, whose answer had let the floodgates in my own life pour open. Could he be the Messiah? That was all it took. Their minds were flooded with the possibility too. His words became living water to us. No longer were we inferior. God had come to us. No longer was I inferior. God had come to me. We were no longer judged for our past. We did not have to be separated from God or our brothers and sisters in the faith. We could be one. God so loved the world. Worshipping together. Not here, not there, not this way or that, but together. That's what it's really all about, isn't it? God reconciling us to himself and us to one another. From the beginning to the end, God desires to be our God and we his people. No shame, no division, no past. One people worshiping God forever. time has now come when the true worshippers will worship in spirit and in truth.